Get started. So welcome everyone. My name is Flora Lucero. I am the chair of the Democratic Party of Bernalillo County and so honored to serve you in that position. Tonight we are having a question and answer session for the candidates who are vying for the position of Metro Court Judge Division 16. And so I'm very grateful for these candidates spending time with us tonight. And I'm grateful for the attendees who have taken time out of their evening to get to know these candidates a little bit better. And they have also submitted questions for us to ask the candidates. So thank you all for being here. Thank you very much to Ivan Pfeiffer. He is our Zoom tech for this session, and so he'll be helping me keep an eye on the people who are coming in. And I ask you all if you could just mute yourself when you're not talking. I'll be doing the same, and that way we can make sure we minimize background noise. And Ivan, if you could help me keep an eye on letting people in too, that'd be great. And so to start off, I just would want to acknowledge that the land that we all live on, the land that we serve our families and that we have, some of us have grown up upon, and the land that you seek to serve this position on is land that was indigenous people's land, and it was stolen from them, and we honor their beginnings here. And so with that, I'd like to get started now with our forum, and we're going to start with introductions. We're going to have introductions by each of the candidates. Azra Elliott is standing for the position. She has been appointed by the governor. She's standing for the position of Metro Court Division 1. And so she'll be introducing herself, and then we'll go on and have the other candidates who are standing for the position of Division 14 introduce themselves. And then after that, we're going to have questions, and we'll be alternating. I'll ask the questions, and then each of the candidates will answer, starting, they'll be going in alphabetical order by last name, and I will call upon you. They have 60 seconds, 90 seconds for the introductions, 60 seconds each for the answers. And then at about 7:20, we will have wrap up and final closing remarks from our candidates. So with that, I would like to ask Ms. Azra Elliott to introduce herself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone, for being here and carving out a little slot just so that I can say hello and introduce myself. My name is Azra Elliott. I am the most recent appointee on Metro Court. I was Governor Lujan Grisham's appointee in June, and I've been here about a month and a half so far. I was appointed to fill the vacancy that was left after Judge Valdez retired. And because of the timing of my appointment, it came just a little bit after the primary. So that is why I am part of this process today. I'm asking for your support to vote to put me on the ballot as your Democratic candidate in the fall. I'm not opposed for this position, but I still just wanted to reach out and say hello and introduce myself. I have been a prosecutor and a public defender, and I've been a staff attorney for the courts for 8 years before I was appointed to the bench. It's because of my experience as a first-generation immigrant that I'm dedicated to public service, because I feel that I really owe something to this place where I was born and raised. I just am asking for your support, and I hope that you will fill in that bubble for me on your ballots so that I can be your candidate in November. I know that there are lots of candidates, and so I don't want to take up any of their time, but if it's okay with you, Madam Chair, I'll put my email address in the chat, and I'm happy to hear from any of you with any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Azra. Appreciate that. And yes, please feel free to put your contact information in the chat, and same with any of the other candidates. I'd like to share that as well. So you're welcome. And now we will hear from the district, the Division 14 candidates. We're going to start with Mr. Stephen Diamond, and you'll have 90 seconds there.
Hi, my name is Steve Diamond, and I'm going for the Metropolitan Court opening here. And I come to you with 10 years of experience at the District Attorney's Office. Prior to that, I worked at a number of jobs, including at a private law firm where I had opportunity to represent plaintiffs and also criminal defendants. Even before that, before I attended law school, I worked with foster care children with emotional problems, and that's what even spurred me to go to law school and to dedicate my life to serving the needs of others. I am very excited about the opportunity to take this position. I think my years of experience at the District Attorney's Office has prepared me for this job. Additionally, it's prepared me for the specific task which is going to be asked of this Metropolitan Court judge, which is to preside over preliminary hearings, which are felony hearings that somebody has when they are first arrested on a felony offense. So I have a particular experience with felony charges and presiding over these types of hearings. I've worked at these types of hearings as a assistant district attorney and now as a deputy district attorney. So I really look forward to getting to know all of you during this process, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diamond. And now we have Ms. Shanetta Estrada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. I am Shanetta Estrada. I am originally from Denver, Colorado, but my love of dance brought me to New Mexico. I'm a flamenco dancer. That was my minor in school. And I love New Mexico, and that is why I'm still here. I am asking for your vote because I feel that this particular vacancy is well suited for both my skill set and my passion. During the beginning stages of the pandemic, the grand jury was shut down, which meant the only way to initiate cases was through the Metro preliminary hearing system. So I have significant experience in initiating cases of every single kind through that Metro preliminary hearing system. I've done cases from complex homicides with co-defendants through sexual assault cases, child abuse cases, and even some of the lower level property crimes and the stolen car cases. So I believe that I have significant experience with this in particular, given that I've done a significant amount of Metro prelims specifically, and I was the first to do a homicide Metro prelim during the pandemic. And so I believe that both my passion and my skill set make me well suited for this position, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you very much. Beautiful timing. And now Mr. Frick.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Fricke. I was a district attorney here in Bernalillo County for about 19 years. I've been practicing criminal law in Bernalillo County for about 22 years, and I've done just about every kind of case there is. As a lawyer, all told, I have 29 years of experience. And really a lot of people that you'll be considering this evening, we all have a good deal of experience. So you can ask questions about that if you like, but I wanted to emphasize for the moment that I've done a good deal of service within the community as well. I've taught APS students. I've gone into their classrooms and taught them about the law and the Constitution. On a weekly basis, I deliver Meals on Wheels. I've worked in the homeless legal clinic. That was some time ago. And before I became an assistant district attorney, I represented abused and neglected children as a guardian ad litem. It's really important to me to be useful, and that's my purpose here. I have had the honor of being selected by the Judicial Selection Commission to be considered by the governor twice before, and I'm hopeful that tomorrow when the commission meets, they'll come out with my name as well. So I think that I'm a pretty good choice here. But I don't take it for granted. It's very important for me to do any job that I have, to do it well and conscientiously. And I think the experience and judgment that I've developed over 29 years will allow me to do that in Metro Court.
Unmute yourself, please, Flora.
Oops, and now we'll hear from Ms. Veronica Hill.
Thank you, Chair Flora, Ms. Lucero. Goatsi and Dagote. My name is Veronica Hill. I chose to say good evening today in my languages because One of the reasons I'm vying for this position is because my communities have taught me that being of service and giving back is what's most important. I'm Laguna Pueblo, Hickory Apache, and San Carlos Apache. So half of me is from New Mexico and the other half is from Arizona. I chose to go to law school over a decade ago because I wanted to serve those communities in the best way I knew how. And I felt that one of those ways was becoming an attorney. Since that time, I have been a tribal court public defender, prosecutor, both regarding criminal cases and regarding child welfare cases that involved abuse, abandonment, and neglect. And I've also had the privilege of serving 2 different tribal communities as a judge. I was a criminal court judge in San Carlos, and I was also a judge here with the Pueblo Vesleta, which is about 20 minutes south of Albuquerque, where I heard not just criminal cases, but also child welfare cases. And I presided over a family court docket that included custody and child support. Additionally, I've been a state prosecutor both here in Bernalillo County and in Santa Fe. And I've also worked with a wide variety of recovery courts, even running my own recovery court as a tribal court judge previously. I'm asking for the committee's vote for me today because I want to continue that service. I believe it is incredibly important to have
Thank you,
a person with my experience, strength, and hope on the bench. Thank you.
very much. Now, Ms. McDaniel.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having this forum and for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Claire McDaniel, and I'm asking for your vote for the Division 16 vacancy at Metro Court. I graduated from the UNM School of Law in 2010, and since then I practiced civil law. I have prosecuted felony crimes. I've been a children's court prosecutor. I did some criminal defense work, and in 2015, I started as a prosecutor here in the DA's office, specifically at Metro Court. So I've spent the past 7.5 years at prosecuting in Metro Court. That is my courthouse. That is my home. I go there every single day. I know that courthouse like the back of my hand, and I'm incredibly passionate about the work that we do there for the community. I've been involved in every single diversion court, which they're like drug courts where people are diverted into treatment instead of incarceration. So I've been involved in every single one of them at the Metro Courthouse. I've helped build some of those programs, and I'm passionate about the work that's done there. And I think I would be a fantastic addition to the Metro Court bench. Additionally, my philosophy as a prosecutor and what I would bring to the bench is the ideas of compassion, of fairness, and integrity. And I'm asking for your vote because I am dedicated to the Metro Courthouse and I'm dedicated to this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, and now we have Mr. Todd Olmos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Todd Olmos. I am here today to put myself forward for the position of Metropolitan Court Judge and ask you for your vote. I have practiced exclusively in the Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court for 11 years. I've been a public servant my entire legal career and want to continue being involved in public service as a Metropolitan Court Judge. 20 years ago, I suffered a massive stroke that paralyzed the right side of my body. That experience made me more appreciative of my life and made me question my life's purpose. I explored many new possible routes. Among them were paralegal courses. A volunteer opportunity at a nonprofit organization allowed me to help indigent people fill out forms and explain the legal process in domestic matters, divorces, child support, orders of protection. I continued on with the study of law and went to law school at UNM. I discovered that my found enjoyment of helping individuals lent itself well to criminal law. And after I graduated, I was hired by the public defender, where I have been ever since. I have practiced in front of numerous Metropolitan Court judges. I've had 96 trials in the Metropolitan Court, and I have resolved many thousands of cases in the Metropolitan Court. Because of my experience and public service with the Metropolitan Court, I'm asking for your vote to represent the Democratic Party in the November elections. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And our next candidate is Mr. Edmund Perea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate this opportunity to take a few minutes to just tell you a little bit about myself very briefly. But first of all, I want to thank all the members out there of the CCC and all those who will be voting. You perform a very important task for the party, and I do understand that. As a dedicated Democrat over the years, I have knocked on so many doors for Democratic candidates. I've run campaigns for candidates. I was even a candidate myself. I ran in the 2016 cycle for district attorney. It was a hard-fought primary race. We performed very well. We didn't prevail, but I received over 21,000 votes by the Democratic voters in Bernalillo County, which I really appreciated that. I've been part of the fabric of this community for my entire lifetime. I performed in a number of roles and have had quite a few accomplishments. I served a career in law enforcement where I rose to the ranks with the Albuquerque Police Department. I've served on a number of boards. I was vetted by the County Commission for the Code of Conduct Review Board, also by the Albuquerque City Council for the Police Oversight Commission. Currently, I chair the Accountability and Government Oversight Committee. I have handled thousands of cases, either through my time in law enforcement or my time as attorney. Most of my time today are defending the rights of others who might be unfairly treated. And I'd appreciate your vote and support in running for District 16 Metro Court Judge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Mr. Daniel Roberson.
Thank you everyone for participating with us today. My name is Daniel Roberson, and I was born in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, to Mexican mother and African American father. I'm asking for your vote today for the Division 16 judicial vacancy. I'm a biracial person of color. It's something that's really influenced my philosophy on life and how I interact with people and treat others, as well as view our legal system. I did have my negative experiences while growing up in society because of the complexion of my skin, but I've never let it hold me back. In fact, I've always been a pretty positive person, so much so that I have a strong belief that our criminal justice system can really improve those racial disparities that are so well documented and provide equal justice for everyone in the future. I started my career nearly a decade ago working at the Second Judicial DA's office, where I've prosecuted crimes from misdemeanors all the way to your murders and the crimes in between. I participated in preliminary hearings and grand juries as well. I currently work at the Bernalillo County's Attorney's Office, where I conduct hearings for the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, where we identify issues in our local criminal justice system and improve them. I'm known as the attorney that has a good temperament and have always been able to speak with victims or defense attorneys in a manner that they could feel open and talk to me about traumatic experiences in order to resolve those cases. I'm asking for your vote today in hopes of adding my diverse experience as a biracial person of color, my well-rounded criminal law experience and legal experience to the bench. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberson. And now Carlos Scarborough.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, good evening. And thank you for your time. I'm Carlos Scarborough, and I ask for your vote in nominating me to the Bernalillo County Metro Court Division 16. I'm seeking this nomination because I believe in our community, and I believe I can help protect the public by upholding the law and being a fair and reasonable judge while holding people accountable when necessary. I also want to help encourage young first-time offenders to make better choices for themselves and the betterment of the community. I've been an attorney for 16 years. I'm currently a supervising attorney at the Public Defender's Office in the Metro Court. I've worked with many people over the years, youth, elderly, veterans. I have experience with felony cases, misdemeanor cases, personal injury cases, and preliminary hearings. I take this seriously and I enjoy it. I ran for Metro Judge in 2014. And I recently applied to the National Judicial College, where I was accepted to attend a week-long seminar in October for aspiring judges. As a judge, I would like to start an elder court program to assist this population with the needs and resources they need to be successful when in the criminal justice system. I come from a family of public service. My grandfather and father were both district judges in the first district, my father later being elected to the New Mexico Supreme Court. My wife Anna and I are from northern New Mexico. We've been married for 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the right person for this job, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scarborough. We definitely have a beautiful, qualified slate of candidates here. So we'll start the questions now. For the questions, we're going to have 60 seconds. You'll have 60 seconds to answer the questions. And I did request questions from the audience or from the people who had registered. But I'm going to start with a question that I have. And so tomorrow, the Judicial Nominating Commission will meet and forward their recommendation or recommendations for appointment to fill this seat to the governor. The governor then has 30 days to appoint one of you to fill the position. Once the commission makes their recommendation or recommendations, if you have not been recommended, will you withdraw your name from our Democratic Party of Bernalillo County's CCC ballot? If the governor appoints before August 25th and you are not the appointee, will you withdraw at that time? Please explain your reasoning. And with that, we're going to start with Shanetta Estrada.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I respect the process and both the governor and the Democratic Party. And so in respecting that, if I am not appointed with the governor or put on that short list tomorrow, I will withdraw from the CCC ballot, as I do appreciate and respect the process.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Fricke?
Yes, I'll withdraw as well. I think the process is designed to select qualified people through kind of a rigorous interview process, and then by vetting by the governor. And I also respect that. So I would withdraw from this democratic process with the party if I was not selected tomorrow through the nominating commission.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hill?
Thank you. I will withdraw my name if I'm not selected as a candidate for the short list tomorrow. I do respect the process and I do respect the nominating commission's decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McDaniel?
Hi, yes. So I have to answer this, I have to give a plug, a shout out to for Judge Elliott, the governor's most recent appointee. I've appeared in front of her a few times, and my ADAs have as well, of course, because she's been on the bench for about a month or so now. She's amazing. She's fantastic. Once again, the governor made the right decision. And so, of course, I will defer to the governor and to the nominating commission, and of course, withdraw.
Thank you. Mr. Olmos?
Yes, I do respect the process, and if I am not selected by the commission, if the governor hasn't chosen, I will withdraw, and if I am not on the short list to the governor, I will withdraw.
Thank you. Mr. Perea?
Yes, it sounds like there's a consensus here. I too understand and respect the process and the intent of the process, and I would withdraw if not selected as the short list in tomorrow's JNC process.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roberson?
I agree. There seems to be a consensus here today. I do respect the process. It's a process that we have in the state for a reason. So I would withdraw if I didn't make the short list and didn't make it past to the governor either. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scarborough?
Likewise, Madam Chair, I would withdraw under both scenarios.
Thank you. Mr. Diamond?
Yes, I would. We'll make it a clean sweep.
All right. Thank you so much. You all would make it easier on us, that's for sure. Thank you for that. So the first question that comes from one of the attendees is, tell us about your work history. Specifically, have you represented individual human beings during your career, as distinguished from representing the general public as a DA or AG or counsel for a government agency? What kinds of representation of individuals have you done, either in criminal or civil practice? And for this question, we start with Mr. Fricke.
Yes, I've represented individuals in civil matters when I started out as a young attorney. It was in business disputes as well as lease disputes. I have spent most of my time as a prosecutor, and as a prosecutor, you represent the people of New Mexico rather than an individual person, but you have to take into account, in fact, you're required by the ethics and the rules to take into account the sentiments of the victims in the case. And although you don't represent those victims, you have to make it clear to the court what their wishes are, and you have to consider them. I'd also like to make the point that as a prosecutor, prosecutors are the only lawyers who, in addition to considering the interests of their clients, also have to consider the interests of justice and fairness. And prosecutors are unusual in that respect. And that's why I believe that a prosecutor like me is a good person to be a judge, who's really the only consideration is fairness to all the parties. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Hill.
Thank you, Chair Lucero. I have represented a wide variety of individuals. I used to be a child welfare prosecutor, so I actually represented children in civil matters. I've also been a prosecutor where I too represented the state, but also wanted and needed to take into consideration the what victims wanted and needed out of a case. Additionally, I've also been a public defender, so I've actually represented individuals in criminal matters and gotten them into recovery courts that definitely help them stay out of the legal system. And so I've represented a wide variety of individuals, from infants and newborns all the way to I've had older people, elderly people as clients as well.
Beautiful, thank you. And Ms. Claire McDaniel.
Hi, yes. So while I have been a prosecutor since 2013, prior to that, I spent 2 years as an attorney with a civil rights firm. We represented individuals who had been, abused by people in positions of power, and I'll never forget their stories. I carry with them and carry those stories with me in my career now as a DA. Additionally, the idea of remembering that all people deserve respect, dignity, and compassion is central to my approach as a prosecutor. I struggled with addiction in my 20s and nearly lost my life because of it. I know how hard it is to get your life back after something like that. And so many of the people we see in Metro Court are struggling through those same things. And I feel like I'm uniquely situated to understand that and to be an effective judge in Metro Court.
Thank you very much, Ms. McDaniel. Mr. Todd Olmos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I have said, I have been a public defender for 11 years. I've represented thousands of individuals, helped them resolve cases, do what's in their best interest, worked with district attorneys, gone to trial when needed, resolved issues in creative and other ways as necessary. But my whole legal career has been one of representation of individuals. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Perea.
Yes, Madam Chair. I have a very rich history of representing individuals across the board. I've worn many hats in our community. On the legal side, I've served as a prosecutor prior to my private practice. I've also worked with a large corporate firm where we represented individuals. Currently in private practice, my entire caseload is representing individuals with a whole variety of needs and concerns. Many of them have to do with constitutional and fairness issues. I believe very strongly in the need to have strong representation. And with every case that I have, I put my heart and soul into it to ensure that justice is served Justice is so critical, and especially for those who are underserved or those who can't afford high-powered, expensive legal representation. I often take cases on pro bono for those most in need, which I believe is part of our role as an attorney to help those who need help the most, to ensure fairness and justice.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robertson?
Yes, my answer is yes to that. When I was in law school, I participated in legal clinics where we were being supervised, but over the course of those years, I represented people in immigration court in the federal court in Florida, getting them the VAWA visas. That was a lot of close contact with some Hondurans that got some crimes committed against them. In addition to that, I think it was stated that part of being a prosecutor, and in New Mexico, we have the Victims' Rights Act. We have to consider what a victim says. While we don't necessarily represent them specifically, their voice must be heard throughout the whole process, and some of their wishes need to be considered. And I always made sure to do that, as well as the defendant, as it was stated earlier. While we don't represent the defendant, it is our job to make sure that throughout the whole time that the case is being processed, their case is legal throughout the whole time. And if we find an issue, it is our responsibility to withdraw it if we find their evidence or there's some kind of exculpatory evidence requiring dismissal. So my answer is yes.
Thank you. Mr. Scarborough?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I ran my own law office for about 8 years. And during that time, I represented victims of wrongdoing and personal injury cases. I also represented individuals in property disputes and estate planning matters. So I have represented individuals, a lot of elderly people. Before law school, before my legal career started, I also worked with the youth in the AmeriCorps program and the Youth Conservation Corps. So I do have extensive experience representing individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Diamond?
Yes, thank you. Well, I don't want to repeat things that people have said. So I agree with what Mr. Robertson, Ms. Hill, and Mr. Fricke said about the role of a prosecutor and how that helps individuals. But I think to address the specific question, yes, I have represented individuals. I worked prior to becoming a district attorney. I worked at a private law firm, a plaintiff's firm, where we represented only individuals. That included criminal offense. It also included things like employment discrimination. And this was around the 2007-2008 period. So for people who are familiar with that time, we did a lot of predatory lending cases for minorities who had been discriminated against in the lending process. So I have had those opportunities. I've had those opportunities before law school, where I worked as a pretrial service officer, meeting with individuals every day who had just become incarcerated. And I also worked as at a facility for emotionally disturbed foster care children. So I had an opportunity to work with those children every day. Thank you.
Thank you. And Shanetta Estrada, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have experience working with individuals and for individuals. I was a part of the clinic at the law school that the Innocence and Justice Project, which reviewed cases for potential habeas petitions and withdrawing pleas and working specifically on the behalf of defendants and cases that were post-adjudication. Additionally, the community is comprised of individuals, and as a prosecutor, when I step into a courtroom, my priority and my representation is for everyone in the courtroom and the impact that this specific case will have on each individual, whether it be the defendant and whether his or her constitutional rights were upheld, but also the victim, and also just the general effect on the community with the cases. And so I represented the individuals of the community, one case at a time, in serving justice.
Thank you. Right, we are on now to the next question, and this one is based on your experience in front of judges in court. What are good qualities you have observed in judges that you would seek to emulate? And what are qualities or traits that you believe are negative and you would seek not to emulate? And for this question, we will begin with Veronica Hill.
Thank you, Chair. I've actually had the unique experience of being a judge on the bench and having to decide what kind of characteristics I wanted to have versus what I didn't want to have. I definitely want to make sure that I treat people with dignity and respect, and that when it comes to looking at sentences and how to solve problems, that I take each person's unique situation into consideration when I'm looking at that. What I've definitely found, the kind of judge I didn't want to be was someone who didn't have compassion and empathy, and who just saw people as case numbers. I've strived really hard to make sure that any courtroom I preside over and I'm a part of, and that I listen to each and every person's experience.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. We lost you at the end of your, just the last couple of seconds there, but I think you were wrapping up. So the next we have Claire McDaniel.
Thank you for the question. This is an important question that I've thought a lot about. My favorite judges are thoughtful. They have integrity. They're diligent. They work hard. They're not afraid to go out into the community and collaborate with other partners and stakeholders. So those are the, most of all is compassion would be central to what I believe a good judge should be. As far as characteristics, I don't care for judges who are volatile, judges who use their position to be a bully or to be cruel unnecessarily. I think that is never called for, and and there are certain judges like that, and I think that those are bad characteristics. Thank you.
You're muted.
Mr. Olmos, Todd Olmos.
Thank you. The judge position is about honesty, consistency, impartiality, and resolve. Some of those good traits that I have actually seen are those, as well as organization and discipline, the organization to run a docket or to keep a track of things, and the consistency to go, this is what I do in situations, and realizing that they do have to be empathetic. To answer the other side of that is the judges that are, like Ms. McDaniel said, volatile, or they're not consistent in rulings or not consistent in what they do. And those that cannot make a decision, realizing that both sides have arguments, and at the end of the day, a decision needs to be made to move forward on how to resolve an issue. And judges that can't do that is one I don't want to emulate. So thank you.
Mr. Perea.
Yes, Madam Chair. I've been very fortunate in my decades of appearing before judges in Metro Court, District Court, Federal Court, in that I have seen just this high level of professionalism that I really do appreciate as a practitioner. I believe one of the most important values beyond fairness and impartiality is temperament. And I've observed, fortunately, virtually every judge I've been before that has very positive temperament. I realize maybe as judges are human beings, they may have good days and bad days. And the judge I would try to avoid ever being is, even on a bad day, treat anyone with less than the highest level of dignity and respect. And that would be, again, the most important thing to me is impartiality and positive temperament, and anything less than dignity and respect of the people who come before you.
Thank you. Mr. Robertson?
Yes, I'm going to start by naming some of the qualities that I've encountered I found I didn't like. Those were, as stated earlier, the judge that would take their position of power and tend to bully people that appear before them, or that were disrespectful to people that were just trying to do their job in front of them. Those are some of the qualities that really hurt the position of a judge. Some of the judges that I do respect a lot have the qualities of being transparent and making sure that people before them are fully apprised of what's happening and where they are in their hearings, the attorneys, the people appearing before them as well, and even their staff. Those judges also are mindful and fully prepared. They'll read everything that the attorneys present before them and read that case law, which sometimes can be voluminous. But when the judge appears before you and he can tell you a quote on page 7, that's always made me happy because it makes our arguments that much easier. It shows that they're very prepared and thorough. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scarborough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have to agree with most everyone here. I like a quality in a judge of a judge not being afraid to make tough decisions. A judge that can listen well, who's prepared, who's compassionate, stern, and balanced. Some judges I've practiced in front of are downright mean and hateful, vindictive, dismissive. They've ignored the law, and they lack a balanced temperament and demeanor. So those are things that I've seen with judges over my period of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Diamond.
Yes, I think everybody's heard a lot of good answers, and I agree with a lot of the candidates here. I think the things I would emphasize are that I think organization is extremely important. Being on time, it sounds like a little thing, but it makes all the difference in running an effective docket, which is very important at this time. The judge is going to be asked to take this position, has a lot to do, and they have to be organized. They have to get things done. I think picking the right staff is also important as well. You can't do it alone. You have to have an assistant behind the scenes. You have a bailiff. You need those good people as well. So, and then I think it's important for a judge to be looking to improve our criminal justice system, which is what I like to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Shanetta Estrada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The qualities I look to emulate most are first, efficiency, which means doing whatever it takes to know what's going to be in front of you, put in the time and the hours to know the issues and do the research, and being respectful of each and every person's time that appears in front of you, and realize the uproot that being in court causes for everyone, including even the attorneys and the dockets that they carry. The other thing is, when a person leaves my courtroom, I want to be the judge that they say she cared, regardless of the decision that was made, that they know that I listened to understand, but I also spoke to be understood, which means that I realized that speaking in lawyerese or even in an undignified manner to someone makes them shut down, and they will not, one, understand the process or why you made the decision you made. And the two qualities that I would hope to never be would be indecisive and unpredictable. Fairness requires you to be predictable in the fact that you will always follow the law. You will always allow each side to speak.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Fricke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think clearly it's most important for a judge to listen very carefully, and that's a lot harder than I think a lot of people realize. It's very hard to listen, especially if you're listening and it's your 10th case in the day and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and everybody wants to go home. And I think that's another thing a judge has to decide is to understand is that almost everybody who's in the courtroom doesn't want to be there. And so if a judge is prepared and efficient, he or she's able to move things quickly and get people out of where they don't want to be. I think finally, what a judge does is more than just read the law and apply what they understand that they're reading. Because a lot of times the law as written doesn't supply the answer. And that's what a judge quintessentially does, is figure out, is take the written law as far as they can, and then look at the facts and the people in front of them and decide really what is the right decision, not just on the law, but based on common sense and just human compassion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Our next question is This position will work with felony preliminary hearings in Metro Court. How many criminal jury trials have you done? If you have done criminal jury trials, were those in Metro Court misdemeanors or District Court felonies? Were they for the prosecution or for the defense? And for this question, we'll be starting with Clara McDaniel.
So as I noted earlier, I've been a prosecutor since 2013. I was a prosecutor first in the 13th Judicial District, starting in 2013 to 2015. I had a felony caseload pretty much exclusively, and I did felony jury trials in district court. In Metro Court, when I started in 2015 till the present day, I lost count. I have done too many jury trials and bench trials to count. At least between 30 to 50 jury trials just in Metro Court, and that would be on the low end. But most of my trial experience has been in Metro Court. I have plenty of felony experience as well, though. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Todd Olmos.
Yes, I actually have kept track of every single trial I have ever done, and that's why I can give you a specific number. 40 of them have been jury trials. The other 56 were bench trials. I also keep track of other things that are not trials that are testimony taking, motion hearings that are taking testimony, evidentiary hearings that take testimony because they don't do preliminary hearings. I have done, but those aren't trials, but they take the testimony, and I have done those as well. And so that is my experience, and I have been always representing the individual as a public defender. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Edmund Perea.
Yes, Madam Chair. My legal history has been very broad and diverse. It really doesn't fall into any one linear path. Not all defense work and not all prosecution work. I've worn many hats. I've handled probably hundreds, maybe thousands of cases. The path that I took as a prosecutor really didn't have me handling very many jury trials. However, as I mentioned earlier, I served as an adjunct professor. I've been an adjunct professor of criminal law and criminal procedure for over 10 years, probably closer to 15 years, in which I taught trial practice, in which I worked with students, and we went through mock trials, and we went through the process in its entirety. I'm a firm believer that with my legal knowledge, experience, background, and training, that I can step into any position and function at the highest level with the knowledge and foundation of the law and of process and procedure that is necessary, no matter what type of forum or what type of trial that I step into.
Thank you. Oops. And Mr. Robertson.
Yes, I've conducted well over 50 jury trials. That's kind of a mix between Metro Court and District Court. The majority of those were in District Court. And those range from week-long murder trials to over week-long rape trials. One thing that people don't understand about trials, I know all the attorneys here do know, is that they're very exhausting. The longer you go, the more it taxes your brain. You're exhausted at the end of the day. As far as bench trials, I've conducted over 40 of those. Most of those were in Metro Court. I only remember having one bench trial in District Court. Along with that, I've conducted countless preliminary hearings at the District Court before the new program moved over to Metro. And then the final year when preliminaries moved to Metro Court, I conducted preliminary hearings there on the complicated cases I was handling.
Unmute, please.
Oops. Thank you, Ivan. Mr. Scarborough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Over my time as an attorney, I've handled maybe 2 or 3 dozen jury trials. Those would have been in the misdemeanor courts, magistrate courts, and district courts. all for the criminal defense. I've handled one civil jury trial in the district court. And those were just a mix of cases. I've had numerous bench trials. I've had numerous preliminary hearings, but that's been my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Diamond?
Yes, like Mr. Almost, I keep track of my trials too. Here's my list on my phone. I've done 34 jury trials. 2 of those were in the Metropolitan Court on misdemeanor matters. The other 32 were felony trials in our district court. They span the range from simple possession and shoplifting cases all the way through sexual assault and homicide cases. I've done 2 bench trials in the district court, and I think it's also important to emphasize, as you mentioned, this is a spot to handle felony preliminary hearings. I do not know how many preliminary hearings I've done. It's been a numerous amount. There was a period of time when my whole docket was screening and presenting preliminary examinations in court. So I have a lot of trial experience and preliminary hearing experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shanetta Estrada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Specifically felony cases, I have done 16 criminal felony jury trials, and I have done 2 bench trials. Of which 9 have been in the last 2 years in district court under COVID restrictions. Additionally, I have done dozens of prelims in Metro Court in the system that is working at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Veronica Hill. Ms. Veronica Hill.
Thank you, Chair. As an attorney, I've only done 3 jury trials. However, as a judge, I presided over 112 bench trials and made decisions regarding burdens of proof in those bench trials, which is in essence what the preliminary court judge would be doing. What I've done is I've made decisions regarding burdens of proof ranging from preponderance of the evidence, clear and convincing evidence, to beyond a reasonable doubt in more than half of those cases. And so I'm comfortable and I'm definitely capable of making judicial decisions when it comes to burden of proof, and especially in the preliminary hearing cases, because the judge would be the one deciding whether or not that case moves to an actual jury trial.
Thank you. You are also concise.
I believe you skipped Mr. Fricke.
Oh, Mr. Fricke, I am so sorry.
Thank you for that. I was wondering if I wasn't doing my alphabet right. Thank you, Chair. My number is 50, and I've done a lot more felony criminal trials than misdemeanor criminal jury trials. But, you know, to me, a jury trial is a jury trial, and I never really made a distinction. I started out as an assistant district attorney in Roswell, New Mexico in 1996, where we tried cases. That's what we did in that district. And I tried misdemeanor and felony cases there, as well as children's court cases. That was a district in which we also did a lot of, almost no grand juries. We did preliminary hearings just about every day to bind over to district court. So I've done approximately 50 jury trials over my 29 years, at sometimes being scheduled for going from one trial to another in the same week. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, my apologies for missing you. Okay, so our next question is, what do you think about the policy or recent proposed legislation that would make the defendant prove they should be released rather than making the state prove that they should be detained? And for this question, we're going to start with Mr. Olmos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I certainly understand the policy and the kind of the impetus that helped make this policy, to burden shift onto the rights of the accused, I think is kind of untenable. But that being said, if that's the law, that is the law, and that has to be followed. But as a policy, I do not agree in burden shifting from a state's burden to prove a danger from somebody who's just been accused to have to say, no, I'm not a danger. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Perea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The hallmark of our criminal justice system is innocent until proven guilty. And this burden shift, I believe, is inappropriate. I understand the reasoning behind it. I understand the community concerns behind it. However, once we start to move away from the foundation of which our system stands on, we start to take this road down a slippery slope. I think the accused rights are paramount. I think it's incumbent upon the system to tweak whatever rules or laws are necessary to protect the community, if that is the concern. But I am against any burden shifting. I believe that the prosecution in the state should continue to have that burden of proving any danger to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robertson?
Hi. Let me just say first and foremost that as a judge, if I were to be appointed or elected as a judge, our job is to follow the law. So the current law says there is no burden shifting. So we would follow whatever the people of New Mexico decide. As far as the personal opinion about burden shifting, that's a system that's very controversial because of as Mr. Perea and others have stated, it's not, our traditional system is not designed to push the burden of proof to defendants. It's always innocent until proven guilty. I myself wouldn't agree to that. But like I said, if the people of New Mexico decided otherwise, I would clearly follow the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scarborough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe in the presumption of innocence from the beginning to the end of a proceeding for a criminal defendant. This issue is contentious, and this issue could come before a judge. Likely not a Metro Court judge, but it could come before a judge in some way, shape, or manner. As a judge, we need to be neutral on these issues. We need to remain kind of out of the decision making there in case arguments come before us. So I'm going to remain neutral with that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Diamond.
Yes, I think it's important to understand the context in which this question comes from. The proposed burden shifting, as Mr. Robertson said, it was not passed. And the proposed burden shifting is for a specific type of hearing, a preventative detention hearing. Those hearings do not happen in the Metropolitan Court, they happen in the district court. So ultimately, it wouldn't be an issue for this Metropolitan judge appointment. But since the question was asked, I will answer it. You have to follow the law. I think it would be a question if it's even constitutional, and that would be decided by our appellate courts. If it's what is decided by the people and is deemed constitutional, then I would respect it. But ultimately, if it was a burden shifting, it's just a presumption, and I would decide the cases on what the parties present. And I've never been in I've done many detention hearings, and I've never been in one where the defense didn't put up evidence to rebut any presumptions that might have been there if that did exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Estrada.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Like Mr. Diamond stated, this is unlikely to come in front of a preliminary hearing judge, as all detention hearings and this presumption is presented in district court. I think it's important for a judge, no matter what their personal opinions are, is to not let those personal opinions leak in and become a bias. And so because this position is for a preliminary hearing judge, I would keep in mind the reason I was there and apply the law to the preliminary hearings as required, and remain neutral on sort of anything that is out of my control at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Fricke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to speak in general terms because I don't want to, voice an opinion on a matter that maybe I might have to deal with as a judge, even though they are dealt with. These kind of issues are pretty much at the moment pretty much exclusively within the purview of district court. When a judge decides whether to put somebody in custody or put restrictions on them before they've been found guilty, that's a big decision because, as has been mentioned, these people are innocent. And there are really only on the other side, on holding that person, there are two main considerations. The first is the safety of the community, and the second is whether that person is going to show up for court. And I think the first takes great precedence over the second. And there are charges that are very serious that where where the safety of the community, you might think, just based on the charges, that person should not be released. But if you consider, if you consider the person as a whole in their history, I think you can reach the other decision. So if you consider only the charges that a person is accused of, and again, I emphasize that they're accused of it and not convicted, you might reach the opposite conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Hill.
Thank you, Chair. So I have to preface this by saying I'm currently a hearing officer in district court, and as such, I'm considered a judicial officer and bound by the Judicial Code of Ethics, which means I am actually not allowed to answer any questions regarding policy. What I can say is that I have and will continue and always will follow the law regardless of how I feel about a particular policy as a judicial officer.
Thank you very much. And Claire McDaniel.
Thank you for the question. As Ms. Hill and Mr. Scarborough and the other candidates said, as judicial candidates, we're bound by ethical considerations that prevent us from taking positions or even speaking on certain matters. Again, as Ms. Hill said, if I have the honor of becoming a judge, I will consider the facts and circumstances of every case before me at that moment and ground whatever decision I make in the law and the facts before me. As to pretrial supervision and or detention, there's many things that could be done, but as a judicial candidate, I'm limited to what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So those were the questions that were submitted in advance. We do have some people here as participants that may have other questions. If you do have a question, please raise your hand and we can ask it of the candidates. If not, we will move to closing statements. Does anybody in the audience have a question for the candidates? No? All right. Well, then let's go ahead and start with the closing statements, and we'll begin with Mr. Perea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that the rule of law is incredibly important in our system, and no matter what that law is, it is incumbent upon every judicial officer to ensure that the rule of law is followed in all circumstances. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. Allow me to say a few words today. Again, my life has been in Albuquerque. I've been educated, raised a family here in Albuquerque. This position of Metro Court judge is something that I've worked hard for over the years. I've looked forward to it. I've taken this path of preparing myself for it. I served this community as a law enforcement officer over 24 years with distinction. Over the last 13 years, I've served the legal community with distinction. I've held a number of roles within the legal profession. I served as the Albuquerque Bar Association president and was vetted by members of our legal community to serve in that capacity. I believe in justice. I believe in fairness. I believe in consistency and predictability under the Constitution, and again, following the rule of law. So I would appreciate your support. As I mentioned prior, I've run a campaign. I've run a successful campaign. I garnered over 21,000 votes by Democratic voters in our community. I have been a part of this community for decades and want the strongest judicial system possible and will continue to do what I need to do to support that system. Thank you. I appreciate your support.
Thank you very much. And just FYI to the rest of the candidates, since we're running ahead of schedule, I'm giving you 90 seconds for your closing remarks. Next, Mr. Robertson.
Hi, thank you, everyone. I'm actually pretty naturally a short-spoken person, but I really appreciate everyone's participation today and coming and asking us some of these questions. They really get you to think and evaluate what our positions are as judges, and you get educated for the community. Again, I am asking for your vote for Judicial Division 16. I would be bringing some much needed diversity and a well-rounded diversity as far as my experience. Working with the county, I've really had an opportunity to step back from that prosecutorial role and look at the different partners such as LOPD, the DA's office, the jail, sheriffs, judges, and police officers, and see how their individual roles impact the criminal justice system and see where those roles can be improved in order to fix the system for everyone. I really think that the judicial position is one of the most important ones, the one that can have the most impact on a person's life. From their work in diversionary courts to their actual sentencing of people. All of those decisions made by the judges in the Metro Court and the District Court are incredibly important. And I would definitely take such a position and hold it in high esteem and with great respect. It's a position that I believe belongs to the people, and it's one that I believe deserves enormous respect. So thank you all for your time. Again, my name is Daniel Robertson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Mr. Scarborough.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, members of the commission, participants, and fellow candidates. I'm here to ask for your support and your vote in nominating me to the Bernalillo County bench. I want a better, safer community like all of you do, and I'm ready to get there. I have the experience in public practice. I have the experience in private practice, and I have the knowledge to take those skills to the Metro Court bench. I have the demeanor and temperament as well. As a supervising attorney in the Metro Division, I work with many young new attorneys and externs, and I truly enjoy this work. I've worked with elderly people over the years, so I can relate to individuals, most of the individuals who come into Metro Court, and I can share my experience, my knowledge with them, and hopefully get them directed out of the system. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carlos Scarborough. I ask for your support and your vote in nominating me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scarborough. Mr. Diamond.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members who participated in this. I just look forward to getting to know all of you during this process. I think I could do a lot of good for our Metropolitan Court and for our community. I bring a wealth of experience into the position, and experience as a prosecutor, experience representing defendants, and experience even before I went to law school, working with defendants and working with all different members of the community. I think that this is an amazing opportunity for somebody to step in to the Metropolitan Court and make some great improvements to our criminal justice system that will help our community, and I look forward to having that chance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Shanetta Estrada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say again, thank you for everyone being here. I just wanted to leave you with my values are empathy, accountability, opportunity, fairness, discipline, and representation. I know the importance of a person being held accountable for their decisions while recognizing society should not simply write off people who made mistakes. I believe that I can do a lot of good in Metro Court because I can understand and use empathy from a place of not just imagining what it would be like, but from having lived through some of the experiences and sharing some of the same struggles of just trying to survive as the defendants and the victims and their children that are in that courtroom. I believe that I can be the judge who can be fair, impartial, unbiased, but also leave a mark and change our community one case at a time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next is Michael Fricke.
Thank you. I think what I would like you all to remember is that I'm ready to do this job. It's a job that I would take seriously, just like every other job I've done during my 29 years as a lawyer. There are a lot of good people on the slate today and tomorrow, and I can understand why you might be having a hard time picking out one of us. So one thing I would ask you to do as you make your decision is to talk to people who know lawyers. And whatever those lawyers say about me, I'll live with. I'll stand on my reputation. I think the vast majority of lawyers that you talk to and people that other people who work in the criminal justice system, including pretrial services officers and probation officers and police officers and secretaries and paralegals and people who work in the courts, will know me as someone who listens to people and takes them all seriously and treats every individual as a human being, and who finds me as fine and fair and well-tempered, and having a good personality to be a judge. I'm ready to do this job, and I hope you put me on the slate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Veronica Hill, please.
Thank you, Chair Lucero. I want to echo what all the other candidates have said and thank you for your service in helping pick a candidate. I know it's a long, illustrious list, and I'm very honored to be a part of this community, because what I see is people who just want to keep helping, which is what I want to do. I believe I bring a wide variety of personal and professional experience with my candidacy, most notably that I've been a judge before. I've run a criminal court docket, I've run a civil court docket. I've sat on the bench for hours at a time and heard a lot of different cases and really listened to people when they came before me. I've also worked in recovery courts and definitely believe in helping people get out of the system and stay out of the system, which is why I want to be a Metro Court judge. That's where we can definitely get the most services to help our communities. Overall, my goal is to continue to help our communities, and I hope I'm able to do that as a Metro Court judge. I'm very grateful to get to know all the other candidates. Most of the time we just see a name on a list. I'm glad I can put a face to that name now. And I look forward to working with everybody in the future, because the reality is this isn't over. We'll continue to work together as a community to make sure we're helping everybody who needs help and who wants help. Regardless of what happens, I would just like the community and the committee members to know I will continue to work on behalf of our communities, and especially to continue to serve those who have been historically underrepresented. I continue to ask for your vote in this election, and with that, I say thank you.
Thank you very much. And Claire McDaniel.
Thank you all so much for your time this evening. Again, I have worked with most of these people for years. I see, Carlos and Todd, I see them pretty much every day at Metro Court, and consider them to be friends of mine. So it's a great group of people that we can't go wrong with this group, no matter who is picked. I'm asking you for your vote, not just because I'm more than qualified to be a Metro Court judge, but because I stand for and value all of the things we want in a judge. Fairness, integrity, compassion, those are the things I stand for, and that is exactly what I will bring to the bench. I'm asking you for your vote because I am committed to this community. I am raising my children here. I want to do as much as I can to make it a healthy and safe place for them to live and for everyone else in the community to live. And I believe that I could accomplish a great deal towards that goal if given the honor of becoming a Metro Court judge. So again, thank you all for your time.
Thank you. And Mr. Todd Olmos.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee and fellow candidates. Thank you for your time, and thank you for putting on this Q&A. The Metropolitan Court is a special place. Many of the people seen at this court are having their first introduction to the justice system, and this court has options in resolving issues and crafting penalties that try to redirect these individuals. Because of my experiences with the Metropolitan Court, I have the necessary skills and knowledge. I have seen and experienced the knowledge, discipline, and organization needed to be successful in this position. The judge position is about honesty, consistency, impartiality, and resolve. My integrity, my ability to be objective, my decisiveness, and my even-keeled nature will make me successful in this position. And again, I ask for your vote to represent the Democratic Party in the upcoming election. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Olmos, and thank you to each one of you. I am extremely proud of each of you for being who you are, for doing what you do, and for stepping forward to want to serve us in this capacity. Thank you for being here tonight. It's really an honor. It's an honor to be with you and to get to know you a little bit better. Thank you to our participants who came here and participated. I was just told that the proceedings tomorrow will be streamed, and so I'm not sure where they'll be streamed, but that the commission meeting will be available for people to watch. Maria, do you have where it will be available? I see you have your hand up.
I do. I'm so sorry to interrupt it. It will be live streamed. It's not going to be on the UNM website. It will be on the Metro Court website. It will be a YouTube live stream link where participation is not, comments are not allowed. You're also more than welcome to attend the committee meeting in person. It will be at the Metropolitan Courthouse in the ceremonial courtroom. We will also have a simultaneous live stream in our jury deliberation room. So plenty of room, and it will be live streamed as well, but that link will be found on the Metropolitan Court website. And then again, just as a reminder, if you come in person, you can sit in the jury deliberation room where it will be live streamed. You do not need to wear a mask, but if you're in the courtroom, ceremonial courtroom, you will need to wear a mask. And it's not recorded.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that information. That's very helpful. So that's tomorrow, and then our ballots will be going out from the CCC, the County Central Committee ballots will be going out on the 25th, Thursday, August 25th. They'll be due back at 11:59 on Sunday, August 28th. And then we'll be announcing 2 days after that the results of that election. And with that, I'll be closing now. But once again, thank you so much. Sure appreciate each one of you.
Thank you.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Everybody.